The author examines how and where such transformations have taken place in the economy, society, in class and gender relations, in the manifestation of consumerism and culture, and other ways. The book has 27 chapters, and all of them are highly instructive. A special feature of this book is that the author's mobilization of statistical evidence in the form of maps, figures, and tables, as well as strong arguments to support his conclusion. In addition, he has used box items to define and explain a number of concepts that other authors did not deem necessary. This reader-friendly approach is invaluable for the non-economist and students who should now understand such concepts as feudalism, tax elasticity and buoyancy, fiscal and budget deficit, etc. And they should be able to comprehend them all more clearly. A number of controversial subjects have been dealt with in a way to present arguments on both sides, but for want of space, one would like to focus the discussion on a couple of topics highly relevant in the current context. The chapter on structural adjustment program, composition and effects, talks of the IMF and World Bank and the so-called Washington Consensus in the opinion of the author. Since the Structural Adjustment Program SAP have been in operation for almost a quarter of a century, there is enough evidence to examine their consequences and implications. And the general consensus seems to be that such programs has very serious negative impacts on growth, inflation, income distribution, social sectors, and poverty. I beg your pardon, please. In general, SAPs have made matters far worse for countries that have followed them. The philosophy of that governs such programs, which is essentially one of the liberalization, openness, and greater integration with new economic world order, does not take into account specific factors and the context of the specific countries. With different sets of political and institutional arrangements governing economic and policy choices, the general policy rules of such programs fail to take root in many countries. The prevalence of high liquid hot money, which disappears from a country literally overnight, has serious consequences for an economy that are beyond its control. The most interesting chapter of the book is the last one, A New Political Economy. One is tempted to reproduce here the entire chapter, which runs into 14 A4 size pages. But space does not permit the luxury. While discussing what he calls counter-hegemony, the author refers to the absence of an organized left political movement since the mid-1970s and the recent rise of the globalized and globalizing middle classes, groups which, according to him, means that the margins look more like mainstream. The opposition to the state is led more by sections of what we call the middle classes, such as those demanding water, electricity, not connections, but uninterrupted supplies of the energy and water, Rather than the working classes, labor and peasants demanding better working conditions or higher pay. Organized and unorganized jihadist groups have challenged the autonomy of the state.